Everything that exists was born from something except God. How is this possible? Today we will unravel the mystery. Over the centuries, philosophers, scientists, and believers have tried to answer the same question. If God created everything, who created God? This doubt is not just theological, it is an enigma that defies our logic, as if it were an indecipherable code hidden in reality. In a universe where everything seems to have a cause, how can there be a being that was not caused by anything? Today, we will follow the clues that the Bible itself offers us to understand why God has no origin. He is eternal. In the very first words of Bible in Genesis 1:1, it is written, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." This expression, "in the beginning," marks the birth of time itself. Before that, there was no morning, afternoon, or night. It was as if the universal clock had been turned off until God decided to play the story of creation. This shows us that time is not eternal in itself. It was designed when God, He spoke and everything came into being, established the rhythm, light and darkness, day and night, seasons and years. Everything we call past and future began there. To us, it seems natural, but it is a profound mystery that points to a creator who dwells beyond that line. Imagine a movie still stored on your media. It already exists in its entirety, with a beginning, middle, and end. But no one sees it until someone presses the start button. That's how time is, already known by God, but revealed to us in chapters. Each generation is like a scene, and each life like a character in this larger narrative. And this raises a powerful question. If God pressed the button on time, who's to say He's not also the only one capable of ending it? This idea connects us to the next mystery. What was happening before creation when there was nothing but eternity? Psalm 90 verse 2 declares, "From everlasting to everlasting, you are God." This means that before the first sunrise, before the first sound echoed through the universe, God already was. He did not begin to exist when time began. He is the one who simply is. This challenges our minds because everything we know has a beginning. The Creator is the only one without a beginning. When Job questioned life and suffering, God responded with a question that has spanned the centuries. "Where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth?" Job 38:4. This statement wasn't meant to humiliate, but to show human limitations before the eternal. It's like a child trying to understand a complex equation without yet knowing how to count to 10. A good analogy would be trying to measure the ocean with a glass. No matter how hard we try, the container is too small to contain something so vast. So it is with our minds when faced with eternity, cannot capture all the greatness. This mystery does not distance us from God. On the contrary, it brings us closer, for it reveals our total dependence on Him. And here arises the question that leads us to the next step. If eternity is not just infinite time, but something outside of our logic, how can we learn to see the eternal now in God without being tied to the human clock? Many people confuse eternity with a time that never ends, like a line that goes on without end. But biblical revelation shows something much deeper. Eternity is the absence of beginning and end. It is existence in an eternal now, outside the counting of days. It is the state where God dwells without being tied to yesterday or tomorrow. Revelation 1:8 brings this truth forcefully. "I am the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end." For us, beginning and end are opposites. For God, they are the same reality because He is the very axis that sustains everything. This revelation shows us that the clock does not define the Lord. Rather, He defines time. Think of a stopped clock. It marks a specific time, frozen without progress. Now imagine this, freezing, not as limitation, but as fulfillment. This is the now eternal. It is not constant movement, but full presence. It is not an infinite line. It is a reality outside the clock, where everything is before Him. And it is precisely here that the next mystery arises. If time is not eternal, but was created as an instrument. What is God's purpose in designing this structure that surrounds and limits us? This reflection opens the way for us to understand the time as God's creation. When we talk about eternity, many people just think of endless time, like a line that never ends. But the Bible shows us something much deeper. Eternity is not the extension of time. It is the absence of it. It is a state where there is no yesterday, today, or tomorrow. To God, past, present, and future are before him as a single eternal now. We humans live by the clock. We mark birthdays, count deadlines, make plans, but to God, time has no limits because he created it. While we look at life as pages we turn, the Creator sees the entire book at once. This revelation completely changes the way we understand life, faith, and our journey. Think of it this way: infinity is like a road that never ends, but still follows a direction. Eternity is like a circle without beginning or end. There is no starting point or finish line. This reveals that our natural understanding cannot encompass what is spiritual. Therefore, biblical curiosity about eternity intrigues us so much. And herein lies the mystery. If God is outside of time, how does he interact with us, who live within it? This question opens a window of suspense because it leads us to reflect on our dependence on the Creator. After all, if he is eternal, isn't the meaning of our life precisely in recognizing our limitations in the face of this truth? While human beings depend on air, food, relationships, and even technology to live, God does not depend on anything. It is self-existent. The Bible shows us that he doesn't need to be created, doesn't need an energy source, doesn't need sustenance. We are fragile. He is complete. This revelation shakes our identity because it shows who truly sustains our existence. Think of something simple. A cell phone only works when it's charged. Likewise, we only work when we're plugged in. God, a discharged cell phone becomes useless, lifeless, unable to fulfill its purpose. Without divine presence, we too become empty, disconnected from the true meaning of life. A good analogy is a light bulb. It only glows when it's plugged in. If you turn it off, it goes out. But God is not a lamp. He is like the sun. He shines by himself, illuminates everything, and never goes out. This reminds us that our light is not autonomous. It comes from him. Therefore, understanding divine self-existence redefines who we are before him. And this is where the great mystery arises. If God depends on nothing to exist, but we depend entirely on him, how does this relationship shape our identity? Could it be that it is precisely in this contrast that we discover the purpose of our lives? This reflection prepares us to understand how time began and how we were inserted into this story. In 2 Timothy 1 verse 9, the Bible reminds us that grace was given to us before the ages began. This means that time, with its hours and seasons, is not eternal, but a creation of God. He designed time as a tool, a stage where his will unfolds and where we human beings can exist and live our faith. Just as an author creates chapters to organize his story, God created time so that each moment would be part of a larger plot. The author is outside the book but knows every detail of the narrative. Likewise, the Lord is outside of time but sees the whole from Genesis to Revelation as a single reality. Imagine a painter standing before a canvas. He decides where to apply each color, where the stroke begins and ends. The painting has a beginning and an end, but the artist is not bound to the canvas. Time is the canvas of creation. God, it is the painter who holds the brush. This shows us that everything is under his sovereign control. And here is the provocation. If God created time as an instrument, who is capable of governing what we call past, present, and future, if not him? This mystery leads us directly to the next point, where the figure of Jesus reveals himself as the I Am, eternal and present in all ages. When Moses asked God what his name was, the answer was short and enigmatic: I am who I am. Exodus 3:14. Centuries later, in John 8:58, Jesus echoed the same revelation. Before Abraham was, I am. This was not just a theological statement, but a profound revelation. Jesus presents himself as eternal, existing before time. This truth is striking because it shows that Jesus didn't just appear in the manger in Bethlehem. He has always been present, since the foundation of the world. The Christ who walked with the disciples is the same one who was with the Father before creation. This reinforces the faith that he is not limited by history, but is the Lord of history. A good analogy is a flame that never goes out. No matter the wind, the darkness, or the passing of the days, it remains lit, constant, and bright. That's how it is. Jesus, the eternal light that illuminates all ages. He not only participates in time, he transcends it. Therefore, when we trust in him, we connect with the eternal. And here a point of reflection arises. If the I Am was before time and continues to be today, how can we, limited by the clock, relate to this eternal Christ? This question opens the way for us to look at our limitations in the face of the greatness of eternity. Ecclesiastes 3 verse 11 reminds us that God has placed the eternity in the human heart, yet we still fail to fully comprehend it. It's as if we carry within us an echo of the infinite, but our minds lack the capacity to process the entire melody. This limitation makes us aware of the distance between our fragility and the Creator's grandeur. We've all felt this thirst for eternity at some point. When we look up at the starry sky, when we cry over a loss, or when we wonder about the future, it's as if something inside us says, there's more than just today. This longing for eternity is a mark of God printed in our identity. A powerful analogy is that of a small boat in an endless ocean. The little boat floats, trying to move forward, but never manages to see the shore. This is how we are faced with eternity, sailing in deep waters we cannot measure. The sea envelops us, but it is greater than any human calculation. And this brings us to a crucial question. If we are so small in the face of eternity, how does this reality affect our practical lives today? This reflection prepares us for the next point, where we will see the direct impact of eternity on our present, past, and future. See, God dwells outside of time, which means he already knows every detail of our past, present, and future. Isaiah 46:10 declares, I declare the end from the beginning. For us, tomorrow is full of uncertainty. For him, it is already reality. This revelation is not just theological, it is practical. We can rest because the one who guides us has already seen our destiny. Think about how we live anxiously, planning, fearing, or trying to control situations. But God's eternity shows us that nothing escapes his gaze. He's not guessing what will come. He's already there. This changes the way we face losses, dreams, and even daily struggles. A simple analogy is GPS. We only see the next intersection, but the GPS already knows the entire route to our final destination. Even when we take wrong turns, it recalculates and leads us back. That's how the Lord is. He already knows where the road ends, even when we only see sharp curves. And this leads us to a fundamental choice. If he already knows tomorrow, why do we insist on carrying burdens that only tire us? This reflection opens the door to the next and final point, where the invitation to faith becomes the link between our limitation and God's eternity. Faced with so many mysteries about eternity, creation, and time, the Bible shows us a simple and profound path: faith. Hebrews 11:3 says that by faith we understand that the worlds were framed by the word of God. This means that even without understanding all the details, we trust in the Creator who is beyond our logic. just as someone enters an airplane without seeing the cockpit, but trust that they will be taken to their destination. Faith is the act of resting in God even without understanding every step. It's not ignorance, but trust. It's recognizing that He who was there before time continues to guide our story today. Faith frees us from the burden of trying to control everything. When we look at Jesus, the I Am, we find security in His eternity. Tomorrow may seem uncertain, but it is not unknown to Him. This trust changes our way of life, transforming anxiety into hope and fear into rest. And here is the invitation. Believing in the eternal God is not just an intellectual matter, it is a step of surrender. It is saying, Lord, even without seeing everything, I trust in you. And it is in this surrender that we discover true life, a life that is not limited by the human clock, but connects to eternity. Before time existed, God was already. He wasn't somewhere waiting for the clock to start ticking. He is the creator of time itself and inhabits eternity. This means that He does not change, does not depend on yesterday or tomorrow, and is already present in all our days. This truth should fill our hearts with faith and rest. Stop for a moment and reflect. If the eternal God already knows every chapter of your life, why do we still insist on carrying worries that only weigh us down? Isn't it time to trust Him more, who has already seen the end of the story? This is a decision that transforms not only your mind, but the course of your entire life. Also think, how have you been living? Stuck in the past, anxious about the future, or resting in the now eternal of God? This is the provocation of the Word, to recognize that we are not just passengers in time, but children of a Father who rules beyond time. Before time existed, God already existed, and He continues to exist today and forever. This is the truth that not only informs, but transforms. If this message touched you, write in the comments, He is eternal. Please share this video so more people can understand this revelation. And don't forget, if this content sparked something in you, watch the video that's appearing on the screen now. Join us, subscribe, and turn on notifications to explore every mystery and truth of the Bible.